What is up, most distinguished patrons of this channel? Today's video, we are going to be diving into a viewer, or well, multiple viewer question regarding DC TIG welding of aluminum. So with that said, let's get into it. So today's video is going to be a treat for you guys. You know, it's one of those things where people ask me to do something and a year or two later I finally get around to it. Well, this is kind of one of those things. Now, up until recently, I had not done any how to TIG weld aluminum videos, and now that I have, a lot of people have asked, well, can't you DC TIG weld aluminum? The truth is, I got asked this question multiple times over the past, 2 to 3 years, and my answer is always the same. Yes, if you have helium, but a bunch of viewers recently kind of asked me to give it a shot to weld without helium, so straight argon gas and straight like 40-43 filler. So we're going to attempt to do that. We're also going to attempt to use stick welding electrodes with flux on them and try and DC TIG weld with that under the theory that the flux, is going to somehow protect against the oxide layer or whatever. I can tell you right now that this video may be a treat for you, but it is not going to be a treat for me. I have a feeling I'm going to be sharpening a whole bunch of tungstens trying this, but we'll find out. So that's kind of what we're going to be testing. I'm going to give you a little bit of theory regarding this. So aluminum has been successfully DC TIG welded forever, basically since the inception of TIG welding, and it's done with pure helium. Most people don't know why helium is used, so pat yourself on the back if you know this. Helium is a noble gas, much like argon, but it has a distinctly different property, and that is beneficial to aluminum, that is. So when you hold a tight arc gap with argon, the voltage that's required to jump that arc gap and produce more or less a arc in that gas is fairly low. Like, you can TIG weld with a very short arc gap at somewhere between 8 and 12 to 14 volts, depending on how long of an arc gap you have. That is great because it means that TIG welding doesn't really need high voltage to function. The downside to that is that when you're holding a tight arc gap, you simply don't have very much heat input, and you rely on amperage as a substitute for heat input. If you think of amperage and voltage multiplied by themselves, that gives you wattage. Well, 8 to 10, 15, even 14 volts at 200 amps is not that much heat input. And that's where helium comes in. Helium is not a miracle worker. Some people think you just run on it and magically your machine welds like it has 40 more amps. The truth is that heat input is all coming from the fact that helium requires more voltage to pass through an arc gap to keep an arc lit. So your standard 10 to 12 volts of DC TIG on, normal steel can become 15, 18, maybe as high as 20 volts to keep that arc lit. Well, that's all extra heat input. So realistically, what you're doing is you're using more voltage at the same amperage, therefore your wattage input or your heat input is significantly higher. It simply utilizes more output out of the welder. Keep in mind, if you use pure helium, the duty cycle of your welder at 200 amps, its max output, may diminish significantly because it's more or less like you're holding a very long arc, except you're not. So that extra heat input more or less causes the surface oxide of aluminum to break down to make it weldable on DC. Because that's the whole reason why we weld aluminum on AC with TIG, is that the electrode positive, where electrons are coming from the material itself back to the tungsten, that strips that surface oxide off of the aluminum. And because you have argon shielding gas where that's going on, it does not reform an oxide layer that makes it difficult to weld through. So AC TIG is a perfect cheap solution to welding aluminum because you can use normal argon to do it. The downside with AC with TIG is that it limits penetration significantly. Well, with DC, you have 100% negative, and all of the penetration exists on the negative, not to mention it necks down the weld pool significantly over AC, so you have much higher heat input in a much smaller location, plus the added boost of much higher voltage due to the helium, and that gives you the ability with like a 200 amp TIG welder DC to weld like absurdly thick, like 1-inch thick aluminum with massive penetration. Now, I know you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why even attempt to do any of this? Just go out and get yourself a bottle of helium. Well, that's where the kind of crappy part about this whole deal exists. Helium used to be a lot cheaper. Last time I checked, and it's been a few years, a 330 cubic foot cylinder of helium was something like $400 or $500, and that's a swap fee. So you bring in your cylinder, you get a full cylinder of helium, and that, don't quote me on it, I believe was 99.9% pure helium or something. It wasn't even considered ultra high purity, so UHP helium. The contaminants in the gas will play a definite role in how good the weldability is of aluminum with DC. Now, we don't do NASA grade stuff in the home, so realistically, UHP probably isn't needed, but still it doesn't matter because you can't just go down to the local balloon shop or the circus and steal a bottle of helium from the clowns, so you're kind of SOL on this whole deal, unless your pocketbook has far more money in it than mine. And right now, mine is looking a little bit dry, so helium is not in this video. Anyways, what I got here set up is I cleaned these plates. I actually used a file to clean the edges to try and get as much of the existing surface oxide off. Keep in mind, this material has already formed an oxide layer on the surface even after filing it. It's almost instantaneous, so there's only so much cleaning you can do on this to prep it. The first test we're going to do is I'm going to just set the machine up for DC TIG, and I'm going to just try and feed in filler with argon and show you what happens when you do that. So I put this in slow motion so we can see what's going on a little bit better. I cleaned the filler and the base material really good to where they were clean, wiped them with acetone, and almost immediately you can see that pond scum floating on there. What you're witnessing is the aluminum oxide on the surface melts at a higher temperature than the base material. So the base material under that oxide layer is melting, but that oxide layer is not actually melting. Making matters worse, the kind of surface tension of it creates ripples, and it can make it very difficult to see if cracks are forming or if there's weld defects like porosity. And when you're welding on a joint, like a fillet weld or a lap weld like I'll do in a minute, you can't tell if the pieces are joining together properly because you'll get straight lines that looks like nothing is fusing. Now I'll play it in real time for you. I'm going to show you two attempts I made at doing a lap weld. The first one doesn't go that well. The puddle's just too filthy. I re-cleaned everything and gave it a second shot. This video clip is slowed down, and I'll play both this one and the next one in real time. But yeah, like the puddle rises up closer to the tungsten, and that's that oxide. You can't really tell what's going on, just sucks. So let's try that one more time. This weld turned out a lot better at the start. It's kind of welding clean, but you can still see how it's molten underneath that scum layer on there. And even when I push the filler in, like I'm still adding oxides from the filler and the plates. About halfway through right about now, it just starts welding really poorly. Could be that I pulled my filler rod too far out and then it reintroduced it and it had oxided in that time. But this is not what you want to see. And like typically AC welding of aluminum is, you get that real clean, crisp puddle, and you're not going to find that with argon on DC, that's for sure. Well, let's watch both of those in real time. So as you probably saw from the ARC footage, it's incredibly tough to tell what the hell is actually going on with this stuff. That pond scum of oxide layer that exists on top of this aluminum makes it so difficult to see anything. I ended up running probably hotter and more amperage than I really wanted, but at the same time, at least like the second, I guess this 2/3 fused and looks reasonably okay. The first, I mean, you can see this cold lap for days, like that's not even fused into anything. And that's realistically the biggest issue with running DC negative and just straight argon is that you just can't see what's going on, so you will have defects. Speaking of defects, I polished this with a wire wheel just to kind of clean up the smut that was on here. You get a lot of black soot doing this because of the magnesium, and you might have saw the green arc. That's also due to the magnesium kind of burning off. Well, there's porosity in here as well as on the end. I kind of tapered out slowly, but it's so difficult to see what's going on, and honestly, I don't even know that it really matters because you're just gonna get defects doing this. Now, is this a weak weld? Realistically, due to the already visible defects, yes, the cold lap, even this bottom looks a little bit cold, that it didn't fuse, which has more to do with the surface oxide not allowing the metal to fuse. Because remember, that oxide layer melts at a higher temp than the actual aluminum under it. So it's very common to get cold lap when you're welding over this stuff with argon because it's more or less sticking to that oxide layer and not melting into the base material. So realistically, this weld might get you off a trail somewhere or out of the mountains of Afghanistan, but under no circumstances would I ever trust this to actually last. Anything experiencing vibration or shock loads, this will fail, I guarantee you. However, this might get you out of a bad spot, so can you do it? Yes. Should you do it? Probably not. Here are two clips where I use that flux-coated rod that's meant for stick welding to weld aluminum. And you can see that it's quite a mess. It pops, it contaminates the tungsten. It's generally speaking no fun, and you can't see anything that's going on. Let's watch this in real time. Now, in the ARC footage, you probably saw that it welded piss poor, to say the least. It welded terribly. You couldn't see what's going on, but the actual end results are actually far better. Now, there's a big enough crater here to stuff my house into, and that is probably going to cause a crack, or it's cracked already. You wouldn't want to leave that, but the actual weld bead looks far better wet into the base material. It looks cleaner. I don't really see much of a defect other than the crappy start and the crater. The actual weld bead doesn't look that bad. Now, I contaminated the hell out of my tungsten. It was extremely difficult to weld with this because honestly, there's too much flux on this rod. If I could cut the flux back a little bit, this might actually work. I've kind of coined a term for this, Polish heliarching. I'm Polish, so I can say that, but I don't know. Does this work? Honestly, I'd probably do this over straight argon and DC in a pinch if I absolutely had no other choice, because I think the quality of the weld it's going to put down is better. It's just wet out better. Now, I didn't do an actual lap weld with this, but based on my other trials and tribulations so far, I really think this might actually work. It's just, man, you're going to have one hell of a tungsten contamination issue. Not to mention, it was an absolute bear to get this flux off. It was so melted on there, I had to sit and hammer it. So, I don't know. So now I'm going to stick weld it, and I know this ARC footage looks like trash, and I tried to reshoot just running a bead, but I'm not joking. This is about what the puddle looks like. You can't see anything. I've used other 4043 stick rods and had a much clearer puddle. I mean, you still have a lot of flux always, but this was almost impossible to read the puddle, and this is what you're up against with the stick welding if you decide to stick weld aluminum. So here I am running a bead in real time, and I want you to pay attention to how wide the flux is. It's literally like 15 mil or ½ inch or better wide. It's just a massive mountain of flux that's left behind. Now, actual stick welding of this. Now, this is probably one of my worst efforts ever. I've never ran these Hobart aluminum rods, and I gotta say they're easier to start than a lot of the other ones I've used in the past, but the flux is so liquid and there's so much of it, it's basically impossible to see what's going on. Now, I set the machine at 80 amps, which it recommended on the package as a maximum, and look how cold this start is. That's barely on there. When I slowed down and kind of did a little circle movement just slightly, it got a little bit better, but man, oh man, this does not look good. And I think it needs more amperage. Had I ran 90 or 100, I think this would have worked a lot better. Now, like I said in the past, I've done some aluminum stick welding in a video and in emergency, and I've actually had a little bit better results. So I think it's really more of a case that I'm not used to how this particular rod runs. I could probably get a little bit better than this, but let's face it, if you're down to stick welding aluminum, you got problems. Honestly, you'd be far better oxyacetylene welding this with an aluminum rod dipped in flux. That has worked for probably over 100 years at this point and is going to give a better result easier than this. Now, I want to talk a little bit about penetration. This stick rod for running at 80, 90 amps, 80 amps I had it at, definitely has a lot of penetration near the end where it gets hot. I'm actually surprised at how much penetration this Polish Heliarc, this, TIG welding with a stick rod actually worked. I mean, that's blasted through there to the point, look at that. And that was only at like 130 amps. I mean, to weld that with AC TIG, you're going to have to be above 130 amps and you're not going to see penetration like that either. I mean, DC does produce a lot of penetration for what it is. And then this over here also had some melt through as well. But I don't know, I wouldn't trust that. But hey, like I said, in an emergency, it'll work. Well, what did we learn today? Well, I learned that welding aluminum with processes that probably shouldn't be used is a lot of fun, but the cleanup is an absolute nightmare. I don't know what this flux is made out of, but it's sticky, it's gooey, it gets all over everything, it smells terrible, and it probably gives robots cancer, so definitely avoid this stuff. Now, off camera, I decided, I'm like, you know what, I'm going to bend this and see if there's internal weld porosity, and lo and behold, the weld held up, and I bent the base material, which isn't too surprising. This is 6061 T6 aluminum, and once you put enough heat into it, you more or less affect the temper or the heat treatment in it, and you weaken it near the weld. So it's not too surprising that the weld didn't fail, but I guess this bend test here is kind of this whole deal in a nutshell, which is it will work in a pinch, but man, I wouldn't trust it. And if it needs to hold water, I definitely wouldn't trust it. I think you'd be better off, maybe doing this and then wiping it down with JB Weld to try and hold water in it, because I'm telling you, you're going to have porosity issues and weld defects. So I guess this video ended the way that I thought it would, which is basically that, yeah, you can do it, but no, you probably shouldn't do it. But hopefully you learned something regarding this to where if you find yourself in the mountains of Afghanistan with broken aluminum welds or something that's aluminum, you have a way to escape. Personally, out of all of these, I think getting good at stick aluminum, or at least reasonably good, would probably be your best bet for emergency repairs, simply because it's the most useful. Because let's face it, who has a bottle of argon and a TIG welder if you're out in the middle of nowhere? I mean, stick welding is far easier to do. I mean, you can do it with 2 car batteries in a pinch. So realistically, I think that the aluminum stick is a more viable option. However, the old Polish Heliarc with the same stick rods, honestly, I think that would do probably the best job out of all of them. It's miserable to do. So luckily this video wasn't miserable to make. So with that said, if you guys got any comments, questions, thoughts, concerns about this, if you yourself do this all the time, leave a comment in the comments for us to read. Otherwise, until next time. This stuff has got to be the most miserable. I mean, just look at this. Screw it, I'm going to leave it on there. Yeah, no fun.